There was a lot of hype about Universal Studios being built and MGM and Hollywood East is what they were calling Florida and all of this kind of stuff. And so I had submitted a picture resume to some of the agents in Florida and had gotten a lot of nibbles about that, which is more than I had been having in New York at that point because I had just graduated and everything. And so I thought, well, let me come down and be a big fish in a small pond for a little while. And so I had moved to Orlando and had representation and I'm trying to remember. I think that Psycho was one of the very first auditions that I had because I didn't have my SAG card at that point. And then I went on and I did a couple other shoots after that. So I'm sure that must have been the first thing. So I got through my agent, regular channels. I auditioned for the casting director, and he asked me to come back that same day, later in the day. So I did that. And then I guess a few days later, there was another audition or callback, and I can't remember the timing of it right now. But all of a sudden, my agent called. It was 2:30 in the afternoon or something, and she was like, "Sharon, how quickly can you get over to Universal? They want to see you." And I was like, okay. Luckily I was home and everything, so that was fine. It was before the days of cell phones. So I went over, and that was another callback. Yes, I guess I hadn't gotten on the list, or I'm hoping that that's what it was. It wasn't that they had changed their mind about me or something, but yeah, it was a last minute, get over there as quickly as you can. He was very focused. He was very professional. Obviously had a great passion for acting. He was not one of the people that you hear about, cutting up on the set or messing around or trying to play jokes on the crew, whatever that is. He was not that kind of a person. And so it was really wonderful to see the work ethic that he had, the care that he had obviously taken in terms of researching or thinking or making choices, from an actor's perspective. He didn't seem to just take it for granted. In terms of preparation, I think sometimes you don't realize until after the fact. Like, I can tell you now what I look at that scene and go, oh, what was I thinking? Which is that I feel like I don't really look like I'm trying to stop him from stabbing me. It's like this flailing kind of thing, which is, I don't know if that's what you want or not, but, as opposed to really looking like you're trying to fight the person, because you're so consumed with some of the technical aspects. And I have to, I will confess to this, that, it was more about one of the blood packs wouldn't break, so he really had to, it was this retractable knife that they used, but he really had to use a lot of force, to get the blood pack to break, and, we had to do it a few times and everything. So you're kind of concerned about that. There's a little double stick tape going on the road, so you're kind of half thinking about that. And it's also really creepy. I mean, it's really creepy to see because, like I said, it retracts. So you see this knife coming at you. And so to allow that on the one hand, and yet to still have that sense, and the scream was very important, and all of that kind of thing. So you're trying to put together a lot of elements, and I had come from a very heavy theater background, and in theater you get the chance to rehearse a lot before you put it in front of the audience. And so that was all part of the newness for me. Was, okay, we're going to do such and such and such and such, and here we go, and 15 minutes later, that's what you're doing. And so there isn't as much time to sort of get that sense of, okay, what is this going to feel like, and how is that going to be, and then internalize it or go home with it and think about it some more and come back. And again, the hardest thing was keeping your eyes open, because it was this long shot of, and it was an open eye to not blink. It was all about. And I want to say too that there was still the knife in. So the way that they had to get that attached, and there's a little thing that goes around you and all of that. But yeah, the putting on of the various wounds, you basically, okay, and makeup artist comes in and takes care of all of that. But yeah, holding still while you have that knife and trying to not breathe, and the open eye while they did it all. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, is it over yet? Is it over yet? My eyes are gonna start watering. And you become so conscious of that too when you see other shows. It's like, he's still breathing. Like that. So really trying to maintain that stillness. There was no apprehension about saying it. If anything, it was a bit of a just enunciating it. The feeling of those words in your mouth when you say them, inordinately. There's a lot of syllables there, and it's just, for the most part, it isn't the way that most people speak. So it's almost like when you do sing. Well, I sing. I'm not talking about singing, but when you have a foreign language, your tongue isn't used to making those words, and so you have to practice saying it so that it doesn't come off as And so there's a couple of those things, inordinately and sexy word, all of that kind of stuff. It's just kind of funny. Saying something like that is much easier because we use those words all the time. But yeah, they were fun. I had fun with it. Oh my God, it was so exciting. I mean, I think I saw it for the first time in my living room the day that it aired. And yeah, I mean, it was just such a kick. I think I had friends over and we had a little party, and it was one of those things that you wondered at the time, was this going to be your big break? Because it was so on the map, and it was working with some really great people, and it was getting that first union card and all of that kind of stuff. So it was a really exciting time. I don't know, other than the fact that I got my SAG card from it, that it was a break for me. I don't know that any of the other things that I did came out of having done that. Mm-hmm. But it was sort of a wonderful stamp of approval, for a young actor to be getting cast. It makes you feel like, okay, yeah, this was the right choice, and I'm not going to starve, and it was the right thing for me to do.